Okay, well, here we are in week 2. You've made it through the first week. Congratulations. And we are going to continue learning about business research and business intelligence and how to do it. So, this week we're continuing sequentially through the textbook. That will change beginning next week. But we're going to look at chapters 4, 5, and 6. And 4 starts with just a continuation of our overview of business research by looking at the process of business research. So, what are the steps involved in a research project like the one that you will be completing for your term project? So, we're going to talk about the relationship of research in helping business people make decisions. We're going to talk about different types of research, exploratory, descriptive, and causal. And we'll talk about data collection methods for each of those later in the course. And we're going to focus on developing a good understanding of how a good, valid research project progresses and how to plan for it, how to create a plan to collect data and analyze data and report on data so that you are answering important business questions and generating business intelligence. Chapter 5 moves to a little bit of a departure away from the nuts and bolts of doing business research, more towards the ethical issues and conflicts of interest that can arise when you're doing business research. And this is particularly important, maybe less so in the business field than in something like pharmaceuticals or other healthcare related industries. We're not going to be testing people with diseases or cures for diseases or anything like that. But still, we need to be sure that we're being ethical, that we're treating our research respondents ethically, particularly if we're dealing with populations that are disadvantaged in some way, like children or the elderly or the disabled. And we also have to think about our own rights and obligations as researchers and those of our clients or audiences or sponsors who's paying for the business research that we're doing. Many times that will be our own company. So we want to be ethical and we want to practice biblical ethics, as you learned about in Business 510, to business research, just as we would to any of our business activities. And we are going to focus on a particular ethical issue, which is conflicts of interest that can arise when you're doing research. Oftentimes, research is biased in some way because of a conflict of interest, or is carried out in such a way that the research is not really intended to generate intelligence, but is intended to serve some other purpose, which again puts the researcher in a conflict of interest situation. Finally, chapter 6, we're going to spend a chapter talking about problems. And this is actually quite an important topic. If you don't identify the right problem and the right research objectives up front in a research project, then everything that you do is building towards answering questions that you don't really need answered. So we always want to spend a good bit of time thinking about the problem definition. What is it that we need that we don't have? What is it? What information or symptom is apparent in the business such that we feel like business research is needed to help address that problem. So we're going to talk about problem definition. We're going to talk about decision statements and how to translate those into good research objectives. which again will guide the rest of that research plan and that research project. Research objectives, in turn, are translated into research questions and perhaps even research hypotheses that we will then collect data in order to test those hypotheses or to answer those questions. And going back to chapter 4, we're going to then think about the plan for a research project and how to write that up into a research proposal. Okay, the due date very similar to last week, so I'm not going to go through and read every single one of these, but this week's research deliverable is a problem definition and research questions. Hopefully it's related to your theory in week 1. Although I will say that in some cases a theory isn't really needed or doesn't really fit an important business problem that you face in your job or your career. And I think it's more important that this research project be something that's valuable and applicable and interesting to you. So if you find yourself in a situation where, that theory that I came up with in week 1, that was cool and all, but it's not really something that I want to spend a lot of time and effort researching because I don't think it's going to help my business that much. That's okay. I would love for there to be a connection there, but honestly, the most important thing in terms of the rest of the semester will be what you do this week in terms of identifying a problem, defining it, coming up with some decision statements and research questions and research objectives. So just keep that in mind as you work on it. And as always, if you have questions, if you're thinking that you may need to go in a different direction than you originally were thinking, that's fine. But I'm happy to help you in any way that I can, answering questions about how things are going to go the rest of the semester, or some specific questions about the emerging research project that you're working on. So I hope it will be another great week, and I will look forward to seeing you in our virtual classroom.